Welcome back to class. In the previous class, we discussed noun phrase, the phrase in English. In that class, you remember that we discussed the meaning of phrase, structure of phrase, and types of phrase. We also emphasized that there is something called embedded phrase in clause. But in the current class, we are looking at noun phrase. A noun phrase. A noun phrase is a type of phrase. In the first instance, it must be a phrase that performs the functions of a noun. So, in a nutshell, a noun phrase performs the functions that a noun also performs. Meaning that any phrase that cannot perform the functions of that a noun performs cannot be a noun phrase. Note that a noun phrase is not a word, or else it will have been called a noun. A noun phrase is not a clause, or else we'll have referred to it as a nominal or noun clause. But note that a noun phrase is a phrase that functions as a noun. Moving forward, you can see in the structure here that in a noun phrase, the head word must be a noun, because that is the most important element in the structure of a phrase. We have premodifier and post-modifier also. But despite the presence of the two, the head word is the most prominent and unique element in the structure of a phrase. Likewise, is in noun phrase. You can see the structure of a noun phrase here. In the structure here, we have premodifier preceding the head word and the head word preceding the post-modifier. In all these, the head is the most important element, and that's why we put it in bold. Look at the first example. A beautiful dark lady on the terrace. A beautiful dark premodifies the noun lady by stating the attributes of the complexion of the lady. Not a fair lady, not an ugly lady, but a beautiful lady, dark in complexion. On the terrace, which is the post modifier, provide additional information on the location of the noun head lady, meaning that the lady we are talking about could be found on the terrace. The second one, the technician who fixed the tap. The technician who fixed the tap. There is the premodifier. Technician is the head word. There's point out that we are talking about a specific technician, not just any technician. But despite that, who fixed the tap state the achievement of the technician, which is an attribute. Therefore, post modifies the technician in question. And the last example here, we have an old rickety car parked by the road. An old rickety is a premodifier stating the nature of the car, not a new, modern, but old rickety, not the latest post modifier. And that rickety car also parked by the roadside. By the road, yes, points out the post modifier of the location of the car. You can see in this place that we have pre-modifier, head, and post modifier, and all these elements are combined to form a phrase. In the noun phrase here, pre-modifier shows some attributes of the head word, while post modifier also contributes some attributes to the completion of the meaning of the phrase. Premodifier precedes the head word in every phrase, as we mentioned earlier, but there are some grammatical elements that function as premodifier in a noun phrase. The first one is the terminus. The terminus. The terminus are a, and, the, any, every, to, third, and the rest. For example, a boy. A premodifies the boy, is a determiner. An artist. And premodify artists. Two people. Two premodifies the noun people. Adjectives also function as premodifier in a noun phrase. For example, we have big, short, yellow, handsome, fine, brilliant, etc. A big box. Big here premodify the noun box, to show the size of the box in question. A round table. Round premodify the noun table to show the shape of the table. A handsome boy. Handsome also premodify the noun boy to show the attributes of the boy we're talking about. That is not an ugly one. Next one is genitives. Genitives are possessive nouns, and these possessive nouns also can premodify the noun in a noun phrase. Here we have Samson's car. Samson stands as a premodifier to the noun car by showing the ownership of the car. Men's wear. Men's also premodifies the noun head wear to show what particular kind of wear in question. Ladies' bag. Ladies also show the attribute of the gender that the bag belongs to. And we also have noun premodifying another noun, which means that a noun can premodify another noun. We have tablecloth, maternity home. Maternity premodifies home. Titus Boulevard. On this area, look at your own name. Like my own is Eniayo Shobola. Eniayo in that instance premodifies the Edward Shobola. So a noun premodifies another noun. But in the case of post-modifier comes after the Edward in every phrase. As demonstrated there, you see that Edward precedes post-modifier. We have some grammatical elements that can function as post-modifier in a noun phrase. The first one there listed there is a prepositional phrase. The prepositional phrase, you have example here: by the road, in the class, at home, from my compound. The example shows here that the house by the road. By the road points to the particular house we are talking about. It post-modifies it by showing us the specific location of the house, which is additional information. A girl from my compound. From my compound post-modifies the noun girl by stating the specific girl in question, not the one from the streets, but from my compound. The second grammatical element is an adjective. An adjective does not only premodify a noun phrase, it can also post-modify a noun. For example, we have general, spiritual, brilliant. For example, attorney general. The general in attorney general is an adjective that post-modifies the noun attorney. Law, spiritual. Spiritual here is an adjective that post-modifies the noun Lord. A student, brilliant. Brilliant here post-modify the Edward, a student. You can find in the sentence like, I needed a student brilliant, because brilliant is emphasized in that context. A relative clause can also post-modify a noun in a noun phrase. Look at the example here. The land which was taken, as we mentioned, was taken, and who won the contest here as an example of relative clauses. The land which was taken. Which was taken here is a relative clause which post-modifies the noun land. It points to specific land in question, that not just ordinary land, but which was taken. The lady who won the contest. Who won the contest post-modifies the noun lady. It post-modifies the noun lady. The lady who won the contest, not any other lady, but the one who won the contest. We also have a noun clause. A noun clause can also post-modify a noun in a noun phrase. That you confronted your challenges. Example here, the facts that you confronted your challenges. The head word here is fact. What fact are we talking about? That you confronted your challenges post-modify the noun facts. That you confronted your challenges post-modifies the noun facts. So the main fact in question here is that you confronted your challenges. Look at the other example. The excuse you gave. The excuse you gave. You gave post-modifies the noun excuse. Which excuse are we talking about? The one you gave. So you gave post modifies the noun excuse. Beside that, we have a noun phrase in apposition functioning as post modifier. My friend, the contractor. The example. Let's look at Mr. Joshua, my friend. My friend here post modifies the noun Mr. Joshua by standing in apposition to it. Engineer for cause, the contractor. The contractor, which is a noun phrase, post modifies engineer for cause by standing in apposition to it. The next one is a non-finite clause. Example here we have to emphasize during the debates, attending to the patient in the ward. We have the point to emphasize during the debates. Here, the point is the head word of that phrase. To emphasize during the debate, post modifies the noun point, which is the head word. What are we to emphasize during the debates? The answer will be points. So to emphasize during the debate, post modifies the noun point, which is the head word in that phrase. So to emphasize during the debates is just a post modifier. The consultant attending to the patient in the ward. The head word here is consultant. Attending to the patient in the ward is just a post modifier to the noun head consultants. So therefore consultants stand as the head word, while attending to the patient in the ward post modifies it. And these are the functions performed by noun phrase. We stated earlier that a noun phrase is a phrase that can function as a noun or that can perform the functions performed by a noun. The first function here is subject. As we know that a noun can function as the subject of the verb or subject of the sentence. The example here, the decision of the management will favor the staff. The decision of the management will favor the staff. In that place, the decision of the management is the subject, and that subject by nature is a phrase, which is a noun phrase. The second function is direct object. You know that direct objects receive the action of the verb. I found a blue pen in the drawer. A blue pen here is the object of the verb found, because the found act upon it. That's the object I found. So a blue pen here is direct object, and it is a noun phrase, as you can see. Indirect objects. Indirect objects benefits direct objects. It performs a beneficiary function. In the example here, I built my mother a house. What did I build? A house, which is the direct object. Who benefited the house? My mother. Therefore, my mother is the indirect object because it benefits the direct objects. We also have subject complement. Complement is required to complete an expression. The example I have here, look at it critically. The journalist is my partner. My partner here is required to complete this expression. If we remove it, we have the journalist is. There will be a lot of questions to answer. But looking at my partner, rather it complements the subject journalist. That the two of them refer to the same personality. My partner complements the journalist. The next one is object complement. Object complement. Object complement provides additional information on the objects. Look at it. We called in our master. We subject called verb in the objects, but the object needs something to complement it and give it additional information to make it complete. Our master here supplies information on the object in. Therefore, our master functions as complement of the object in. The next one is apposition. Apposition stands beside another expression to refer to the same thing. or the same content. The journalist, my partner, covered the news. You realize that my partner here, he stands in opposition to the journalist, which is a form of a post modifier, and both of them refer to the same personality. You realize that elements in opposition is separated by a pair of comma to distinguish it. And the last function here is the object of preposition. Object of preposition. She sat on the front seat. On the front seat is a prepositional phrase. Why the front seat is a noun phrase, functioning as the object of the preposition on. So therefore, the front seat post modifies. The front seat function as the object of a preposition on in a prepositional phrase, which is also the function of post modification in a preposition. So this is where we stop in this class.